said, I'm Joseph Kwafo Mensah. I work with Vodafone, and I'm stationed in Accra. Also, I'm in good standing of the PMP, and I've been teaching for the past 5 years for PMP. I also hold MPhil in business consulting and risk management. I have electrical engineering, both degree and HND. And I'm specialized in the mobile radio environment. That's my specialty. And I've been involved in projects for the past, let me say, over 20 years. So at least almost every year I'm involved in a team who do projects. So I'm really familiar with the project terrain. Now, today, in the next just maybe 30 minutes, it's going to be very brief. I won't talk too much to bore you, so that we can go through this topic, dealing with challenging projects. Should we salvage or abandon? Very, very thought-provoking topic, but we'll do justice to it within some few minutes. I want you to put down all your questions so that at the end of the presentation, you can ask questions. You can also contribute. I believe this session should be more of we having a discussion. We talking about, our experience, sharing. So when it gets to the end, let's share. Let's spend some time to share ideas. If you have questions, yes, I will do my best to understand, to answer you. If I can't, I'll just note it, take your number, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. So let's start. So we have about 12 areas to look at. We will look briefly, try to define what challenge projects are. Then we'll look at 1 or 2 examples, a few examples in Ghana of some projects that we consider to be a challenge. Then we get into how do we know that projects are challenge? How do we assess? Because everybody can say a project is challenge, but we need to have some indicators, assessments to really understand the status of the projects. Then we can conclude whether it's challenged or not, i.e. troubled or not. Then we get into assessment. How do we take a decision when a project is challenged? Do we salvage it or do we abandon it? What are some of the factors we have to consider? And if we decide to salvage it, how do we go through it? If we decide to abandon it, i.e. terminate it, what do we go through? And finally, some success factors that, despite the fact that you have a plan, you have to consider when the project is going on good. So, what are challenge projects? Challenge projects basically we consider to be projects that have exceeded their limits in terms of tolerance. Now, every project before you start should have a tolerance. So as a project manager, if you don't have a tolerance from the organization, then there's a problem. You need to have it before you start the project. And most of the time, the PMOs or the organization itself, if they don't have the PMO, will be having this. So the moment you exceed the tolerance acceptable limits, then we say the project is challenged. Please let's note that a challenge project is not a failed project. There are two different stages that we need to bear in mind. So with that said, let's try and find out, if we try to find out the difference between a challenge project and a failed project. A failed project basically is a project that is not recoverable. You've lost whatever you do. You've lost so much that it's not repairable. Then that one you can consider the project to be failed. But challenge projects, they are at the stage that you can recover. Looking at the indicators, is within range, you can recover and make sure that it comes back to its normal level. So if you could see the diagram on the left, you can have the challenge state can be there, which most of the time is in the normal conventional zone of we executing our projects. But it moved to a certain point where you realize that we need more efforts. There are so many problems. Things are becoming so critical. And within this zone, you should try as much as possible to salvage the project. If not, it will enter into the failure state, and there's no way you can do anything about. And at that point, it will, the project will be terminated, and nothing you do can recover it because of the huge loss that you may have incurred. Now, this is a chart I picked from PM Solutions. This is a research that was done in 2011. And it tells us that, out of over 20,000 projects that were used in the research, about 25% of them had to be recovered. This tells us that, yes, there are so many projects that at a point in time we have to recover. It also tells us about 47% of the projects were successful, i.e. they didn't go through any challenges and all that. Even if they did, these were resolved and the projects became successful. And about 12% were not able to be recovered, and for that matter, they failed. They failed, and 6% were terminated. So this tells us that, yes, for challenge projects, they are always there. So as project managers, we always have to try as much as possible to see how best we can handle projects when we see them challenged. So then the question is, let's look at in Ghana, do we have some popular projects that for us we consider to be challenged? I believe so. At least we have Saglemi, the housing project, which has become very problematic from different governments. Is becoming very difficult for this project to come to an end successfully. We have sunk so much money into it, and there's no end in sight. Then we have the KNUSD teaching hospital extension that is being done. It's been there for some time now, although it was not initiated by the government. But at a point, they needed support from the government, and it's also challenged seriously. Then our own National Cathedral, which you all know the story that we are encountering. Now, all these projects have reasons for being challenged. And most of the time when you hear the officials talking about it, all boils down to money. But the question I always ask myself, is it only money that pushes into trouble? projects or challenge projects? No. So I decided to go down a little bit aside these high level projects. So I went to do some research and decided to get information from the Auditor General Report 2017. And it's very interesting, the type of informations I got. I was asking myself, wow, how can we put down so much, spend so much money and leave so many projects undone, where some of these projects can easily be recovered? So in the table, you can see the Auditor General's Report 2017, they picked just in Ashanti region. These are abandoned projects, and you can see the cost there. Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly, the Asante Akim North, all of them, you can see if you check the level of completion, the first one, about 20 to 50% completed. It has delayed about 6 to 10 years. The following ones also have delayed 7, 8 months, 9 months, some 4 years. And all of this is happening. So then I dig a little bit down to find out what is causing these abandoned projects, challenge projects. And the first thing that came to mind in terms of the reasons they put there is corruption. And we all know corruption in Ghana, what happens. But aside that, there's also the problem of lack of skills. Lack of skills, absence of training for workers, ignorance of project management knowledge. This is a very key problem that the report, put across as some of the major problems that didn't allow these projects to be completed. Then lack of resources. And also when they are doing these projects, they don't involve, the locals in the preparation. They don't consult them, So challenge projects are really cause of a concern that we all have to have in mind. Yes, these are examples that I got from the government circles. However, I believe in our own companies. We know there are so many projects that are very challenged that we can't continue, right? And it's very, very, very important for us to have an idea on how to handle challenge projects. So, aside some of the reasons that were stated in the earlier slide that I talked about from the Auditor General report, for a project to be challenged, there are certain warning signs that will be clear to you. Now, these warning signs may not really be 100% to confirm that your project is challenged or not, but it should give you an indication that your project may be challenged. And because of that, you have to do the necessary checks to confirm if your project is challenged or not. First of all, stakeholders, insufficient involvement from the clients. You don't involve people, your main stakeholders, when you are executing the program. When you don't do this, you should know that it's an indication for you to know the client is not ready to take his or her responsibility in the project. They are annoyed. They don't want to get involved. Resources are clearly not enough. You don't have enough. You need so many workers. You need equipment. All these are not available. Then lack of experience. The team members that you have, a lot of them are not so good in terms of executing the projects. All these are signs that you should get worry with. Also, scope change. We call it scope creep, where at any point in time, a stakeholder always wants you to do some changes on the project. This does not augur well for a project, and it should be a cause of worry, lack of agreement between stakeholders as the requirement and the project objective. Always there's a problem. Then you should start getting worried. There could be risk. You know, we have project managers who will not be on top of risk. They will not identify all risk that they think may happen, even if they identify and put down a plan to ensure that these things are worked on. They will not work on it. So when you start seeing these things, it should be a concern. Then most importantly, your schedule and costs. If you are spending so much on the projects as compared to what you are supposed to spend, then there is a problem. Your schedule, you are always behind schedule. You know, and finally, you are not following proper procedures for documentations. When things are changed, you don't go back and update it. So even if someone wants to reference, they will use old documentation to reference whatever they are doing, which can bring problems. So when the moment you start seeing most of these things on your project, then you should be worried that, hey, my projects may be challenged. So what do you do? What do you do? The first thing you can do is to ask yourself, is my project really challenged? How can you answer this question? First of all, to answer this question, you have to understand the project tolerance. Who sets the project tolerance? Most times, if you have a PMO, the PMO have this project tolerance. If you don't have a PMO, the project manager and senior management sits down. So as a project manager, you first of all need to find out, do we have a project tolerance for the project that we are executing? And this you should know before even you start the project, before you get here. So you have to refer. Then the moment you check this tolerances, then you verify against the status that you are against the tolerance. If you compare and you are exceeding, then you know that your project is challenged. I believe someone will be asking, tolerance, what are we talking about? So for example, your project is supposed to take 1 year to complete, right? And at any time T, you have a milestone. So when you have, let's say, your first milestone, you are supposed to finish something within first 3 months, and you are 5 months down the line, you have not finished that. And according to your tolerance, you should be, let's say, 1 week outside your plan. So the moment you see that the plans, your tolerance is that only 1 week, and you are 2 months, that means about 8 weeks. It means you missed the acceptance tolerance. If you are supposed to spend, let's say, 1 million at a particular milestone, and you have spent 1.5, and that percentage is about more than half, and your tolerance, let's say, is 5%. It means you have actually spent more than what the tolerance accepts. So these are the things that you have to look at and make sure that, yes, the tolerance that has been given to us, you compare, and you have to decide and tell yourself, the project is really challenged. Yes, this is an option you can take. But there's another option, because this is not so detailed. Assuming the company has just about 3 or 4 tolerance, it will not be so detailed for you to really know whether the project is challenged or not. So you can decide to use vital signs. This was a model. This is a model that were done by Campo 2001. And they are saying that this is a guide that you can use. And this guide talks about the main indicators that you can use to check whether your project is challenged or not. One, you have to look at your schedule. What is the variance? Your plan against your actual execution dates. If you look at this, for example, the moment you fall above 20% of it, then it's considered that you are above the accepted variance, or for that matter, the tolerance. You can also check the costs, right? You can check the deliverables. You see, most of the time, our mind is on only the money we are spending and the time, the planned schedule. But sometimes you have to look at contractual deliverables. According to the contract, what and what are you supposed to deliver within which specific time? And here they are telling you, you can use these, threshold, the differences. Then you can also look at the resources, the actual resources. And here resources, we are looking at money and also equipment, facilities, and what have you. You look at it. What did you budget for? How much are you using? And finally, what are some of the high risks that are on your projects? If you are able to get more than 6 on your project, then with this, you can tell yourself, really, my project is challenged. Then you are coming to the realization that your project is challenged. But this is still at a high level. This is still at a high level. You have to go deeper. And to do that, you have to do detailed assessments. Because you see, what you did, you may have not talked to people, interview people and all that. So you won't get all the details of what really is the problem. So you need to do detailed assessment. And out of this, it will give you more information to support the vital signs model that I just talked about. So let's see. You need to have an assessment plan. Where will you have it? Most companies have a plan of doing detailed assessments of troubled or challenged projects. If your company don't have it, you can fall on other companies, research and find out some of the plans. But most of the time, how do you go about it? To really do a detailed assessment, it is good to form a war room. War rooms are basically rooms that you try to bring all stakeholders in it, so that at any time, any point, if you want to have meetings, discuss any details, everybody will be in that particular meeting, and it helps. But you just have to know that if it is not a practice that is done most of the time in your organization, then you may have to be careful as to whether it will work or not work. So if you think it's something that your organization support and whatever, you can create a war room, right? And start doing this detailed assessment. Then you assemble all the key members that are on the projects. The sponsors should be part, the team members should be part, auxiliary staffs, all the key members who matter need to be part, and these people all have to be in the war room to discuss the detailed assessment that you are going to have. Then you would have sat down, and through the assessment plan, you would have some questions. And please, these questions should be anonymous. You don't, when they answer, you don't have to know the person who gave those answers. You give it to them. You won't show names, whether emails, any link to anyone who is answering the questions. So then you can collect, you have the kickoff meeting and send all these questions to them, they answer, you collate it, then you analyze the data from all these questionnaires. If you are not satisfied, you may conduct interviews, because here we are interested in having more details. What are we trying to find out from this? We are trying to find out the current status, the actual current status. What are the threats? What are the opportunities? What are the problems that the project is facing? You know, and if the questionnaire is such that it will not be traced to anybody, you see the information people will give you, a lot of information that when you analyze, you can really have more details in addition to the vital points that we just talked about in the previous slide. So after your interviews and the analysis, you come out with an established findings. You may want to validate, because you just can't accept all that people say. You have to validate, talk to the sponsor, talk to the team members, whoever can validate the information that you have taken, to be sure that people are not lying and you are just taking information that are not needed. No, you have to validate and make sure that all the information that you have collected, they are true and nothing but the truth. And this you do with the team. As a project manager, you always work with the team together. Then you aggregate all the information and come out with a findings. And this findings will support the vital science that we have here, because these are high level. Here, you are going to have detailed information, and you would have confirmed them and everything. So you are sure of what you are saying. So then the question will come, yes, you've gotten this, you've written a report. How do you write a report? Because sometimes you have so much information that if you don't take it, you may write 20, 30 slides report. You know, our bosses, they are always not interested in reading so many slides, you know. So let's look at how simple your report can be. You definitely have to give some background to why this assessment is being done. You have to put your sponsor there. You have to put the charter. Basically, the charter gives the objective of the project and what needs to be done in brief. Then you state clearly what triggered this assessment. What triggered it? And of course, the information you put here should be something that is backed by information that you got from your vital science analysis, also plus the details. Then you put the assessment team, because this assessment that you did is not you alone. Then you put the date of assessment, the scope of review that you considered during the analysis. Then you come out with your key findings, recommendations. Then most importantly, you come out with a plan, because the recommendations will tell you exactly what you want to do. And please note, your recommendations should not just be only one, because there will be so many different ways that you can recover the challenge projects. And here, our main focus is to recover challenge project, not necessarily to complete it. No, we have a challenge project. We have identified and confirmed it. We analyze it. We come out with the findings, recommend solutions that we can implement. And after implementation, we will bring the project back on course. That is not to say to finish the project. No, we are recovering, or for that matter, we are salvaging the project. So what are some of the considerations that we have to do? Because now that you have a report and your recommendations, you will send to the project sponsor, right? And they need to take a decision, because you, the project manager, you alone cannot take the decision as to whether you will continue the project or not. You see, my dear friend here is thinking, this is the state that the project sponsor will be in, and all the people who have to take the decision, they will be thinking, with all the fact that you've put down, should we continue, i.e. salvage this project, or abandon it? That is terminate. How do they have to take this decision? If you need to support them, what are some of the things that you have to go through to take these decisions? Let's quickly look at these. Is the project still important to the sponsor? And this he has to answer. If it's yes, then it means we are going on the salvage part, isn't it? Let's move on. We ask another, will the project still give value to the business and organization? This is one of the most important. If we cannot get value, because you know, with the new release of our PMBOK 7, it says that value is the most important thing in any project. If you cannot get value from the project, then the project has not been successful. You can also look at the technology. You know, this is very important, because sometimes you may be doing a project, the project would have delayed for about 1 year, 1.5 years, and you want to revive it. And the rate at which technology is going nowadays, it is very, very important for you to cross-check, because this project have delayed more than a year. The technology you are using, maybe you are coming out with a product, and the technology that you are using may be outdated. So the project manager, you have to consult the IT experts in the organization, you know, who know more about these things, and be sure that the technology that you are using, if applicable, is something that is still relevant. Because if it's not relevant and you continue to finish the project, then we will not get the value. What have you done? You've salvaged the project, but we don't get the value. It's a waste of time. Does this project still have project stakeholders buy in? Do most of the stakeholders support what you are doing? Then you have to look at contractual issues, because there are some projects that it may be stated in the contract that you would have signed. Reagan, please mute. Reagan, please mute. Reagan, all right. Thank you. You need to find out whether there are some contractual obligations, because you see, you may have a challenge project. It may look clean, you want to continue, but maybe there will be some hidden facts in the contract where it will tell you that if this project is delayed beyond 5 months or whatever, it will cost the company ABCD. So you have to be very, very careful to clear that all contractual issues, any disputes are clear, so that when you even salvage, you decide to salvage the project, you won't hit at a point where you will just lose. was trying to recover the project. Right? Good. Then we ask ourselves, can the project continue as planned or defined? Because that was the baseline. You move on. The resources that we need, are they available? Then the vital signs that we look at initially to help us to identify whether the project is challenged or not. We have to look at it. Are the signs in acceptable range? Because sometimes the variances will be so huge. Imagine you have cost variance of about 90%. You will see that, in fact, to try and recover it, it will be a problem. So you always have to be sure the range of the vital signs. Are they really okay? Then finally, the PMs, the project manager who is handling the project, is he ready to continue with the project? And you see, trying to salvage challenge project is not every project manager who can do this. Normally, project manager who do this, we call them RPMs. That's recovery project managers. And you are supposed to be really very experienced. So what before you can do this type of job. And some companies have project managers who are called RPMs, you know. And these are the people that you can rely on most of the time to recover or salvage your project for you. So you have to go through all this. And if you are confident and you answer all these questions, yes, 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 then it means you can salvage, you can proceed with the salvage. But if you answer most of them, no, 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 it means that you may have to abandon the projects. So with these questions that you have, and with the reports that you have, you meet the sponsor and you put everything in front of him. The sponsor is the one who decides whether the project should continue or not. You are the one who have done all the analysis and has come out with the information. And please, when you meet the sponsor, be straightforward. No massaging of information. Direct, truthful. It should not be about condemning people, but it's about stating the facts. And only
well, so I'm sure Mr. Kwafo has a challenge.
yes, I'm back. Sorry.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
I had a small challenge. Sorry, guys. So you need to tell the sponsor the scenario, be blunt, direct, the truth. Give him or her the scenarios for him to take the decision. No any massaging of truth. Direct. Forget about anybody who is going to say, you have said something against him after an order. No. Be professional and hit the nail, right? So if the project is abandoned, there are processes that you have to go through. If the project is supposed to be salvaged, then there's a process that you have to go through. Then let's quickly have some few slides to go. Let's look at a situation where you have to salvage the project. So the project, the sponsor has agreed that we should salvage the project, we should recover, right? There are basically four main broad ways of which you can consider how to salvage. You can decide, because the project is trouble, you can decide to descope, okay? Descope, i.e. reduce the scope. But you see, it is not every project that you can descope. Some of them, per the contracts, you cannot. So you need to really look at the options. Can you descope? If you can descope, yes, you can pass through that channel. You know, it means that you are reducing the scope, maintaining the schedule and the cost, and making things easier for you. You can also decide that, okay, the contract and the way things are, the sponsor is not ready to reduce the scope. So you tell the sponsor, let's extend the time. We're already troubled. Let's extend the time. So it means that the schedule will be extended, which is another option that you can take. Then there's a third option. I think I made a small error here. This is the cost aspect. So we should have had the cost here, sorry. But this is extending the time because you can see that we are increasing the schedule, and you can see the schedule is new, so we increase it. Then you can look at the time. This is supposed to be time. Sorry, this is supposed to be cost. So here you can decide to add more money. Let the scope be there. Let the time that you have to finish the project, if it's not so much delayed, let it be there. But add money. And you can only go for this if there's more money. The sponsor is ready to have more money pumped into the project, right? And lastly, you can decide to use any variations. You can massage it, reduce a little bit of scope, a little bit of cost, schedule, you know, put all depending on what will suit the sponsor. So it is not strictly for you to just use one strategy to try to salvage the project. No, you can really look at it in different corners. So you can cut a part of the scope or a part of the schedule, part of the cost, depending on the scenario, right? Good. So this means these are the options that you have to use. And let's move. Now, assuming you want to abandon the project, what do you do? If you want to abandon the project, what do you do? It's very important that we all know that there are processes from those of us who are PMP certified. We know that there are processes that we go through to try and terminate projects, i.e. when we abandon the project, and we need to go through all the processes, i.e. documentation, lessons learned, trying to evaluate the value, also making sure that every transition arrangement, trainings are done, knowledge transfers and all that. You have to do all those things, writing the main report, making sure deliverables are sent to the customer and all that, at least what has been done. All those have to be done, which are a different area that you have to. But at a high level, there are 4 major ways of which you can decide to terminate or abandon the project, right? First of all, you have to review the legal aspects. If you don't know and you terminate project without looking at the legal contract and what have you, you may have yourself in hot waters. So it's always, and as a project manager, you have to get your lawyers to help. You have to get your procurement experts to help review this. Don't do it on your own. Get these experts to help you review the contract to be sure that if you go this route, you are not going to incur any costs and problems. And when this is done, you communicate it to the stakeholders, all of them agree, then you can decide how you want to terminate or abandon the project. And there are 4 options that you have. The first option, you can terminate the project by addition. What do we mean? You discontinue the project by adding the work to be performed and all the resources to a larger project. So another project manager is working. Your project has been is supposed to be abandoned. All the work that you have to do and the resource you shift to that project, and they carry on with their work. Your project is abandoned. Project manager, you go home, right? Then we have termination by takeover. You discontinue the project by having another project absorbing the work of the project you are doing. At this time, the infrastructure and whatever you is not given to that project. Then you can also look at termination by inanition, i.e. starvation. And here, all that you do is, I'm terminating the project. I won't add more resource. I will just be there. Won't put workers, won't put any resource in. The project will die by itself. Then also, you can terminate the project by extension. That is, discontinue the project by extension with an immediate cancellation action being taken and the project ceasing to exist, and only the work already completed and that can possibly be used is recovered. So you look at your projects. What have you finished? Is it valuable to you? Can you do just some small thing to get it so that you can use it? So you terminate the project, the small part that you know you can work on it and maintain it. You just work on it, maintain it, and it will give you some value. And that is it. So at a high level, these are the 4 main ways that you can decide to terminate your project, i.e. abandon it, but all should be in the discussion with your stakeholders, your sponsors, to make sure you agree. And the one that suits you most, you go by it. And please note, all the points I mentioned earlier about the processes we go through to terminate or abandon projects, they are really important. Whichever point or whichever termination you use out of this 4, you have to go through all that PMI accepted processes. And if you decide to salvage the projects, i.e. recover, you would have already come out with a plan because we did the assessment. You came out with recommendations. So you will have a plan. Guys, we just have about 5 minutes to close. So don't worry, let's all hang on. Then after we can do discussions, questions, and learn more whilst we interact. When you have the plan from the assessment that you did, there are some few small milestones that you want to really capitalize on. And these are the inch-stone plans. You know, you do plans for some of the small milestones that if you are able to quickly get it done, your sponsor will be very happy. So you really come out with that small plan, you get those things done for everybody to say that, yeah, actually, the project is being salvage. You know, then you update this, then you come out with a pure plan that will be baseline to really get the projects from the trouble states. So with that plan, and please note, this plan is gotten from the analysis that we did. The threats you analyze, the risk that you analyze, the opportunities that you took. We also talk about you considering the cost, the schedule, and the scope, which way you want to do. So you look at all those things, you factor them in the plan. And when you factor them in the plan, you monitor, execute. Mr. iPhone, we beg you. Good. Then you execute. Then you have an exit meeting. Yeah, who is this? Who is this? Who is this? Who is this? As we said initially, our recovery or our salvage plan is just to bring the project to the recovery state, to stand at a point where we know that the project can continue smoothly, right? Not to complete the project. So whichever project manager will be given that opportunity is to recover the projects. But please note, we all know. Oh, who is this? Sorry, guys. We are finishing. We just have one slide to go. I think this is even the last slide. We are saying that you may have all the beautiful plans. Everything is well done. You have the team, you have the resources. But please note that if you don't look at interactions, how you deal with people, it becomes, you cannot be successful. That's one of the agile principle. They say you value interactions than documentations. You may have all the excellent documentation. If you don't interact well, the people don't synergize to get the work done. The work will not be done because the beautiful plans and the schedules that you have, the equipment, when there's a problem, those equipment and the plans cannot solve it. It is you, the people who are implementing it, are the people who solve problems. So that's why all the plans you have done, all your analysis, yeah, beautiful, everything. Yeah, nice. So you are salvaging it. You have to be on top. And what do you have to do? Always make sure that you listen to other opinions, of course, in a very specific context, and try to integrate them in your work. Always look at opportunities. Take advantage of these opportunities. Never miss them, right? Sometimes problems are there. You may look at it and you may see that this is the problem. But trust me, sometimes some problems are hidden. They are hidden in such a way that if you don't look beyond it, you will not see the real nature, the root cause of the problem. So don't look at things just at the surface. Always try to find problems when the project is going on. Be proactive. Right? Establish accountability. You are working with team members. Know who is responsible for what. Yes, the plan is there. But as the project manager, to be successful, know who is doing the work at what time. And monitor and make sure that it is being done. Don't take it for granted. Because you are trying to recover or salvage a project. And if you don't take time, you go back into that state. Be proactive to solve problems. Always think ahead. See the problem coming before it comes. Be aggressive. I am but be very, very aggressive in solving problems. When the problem comes, the main approach is to solve it with the team. We have project managers who always want to, sometimes the politics in the organization and all that, they always want to do things on their own, take decisions and, tell the workers to do. No. Be a servant leader. That is the way now. Be a servant leader. Of course, there are certain things which are confidential. You keep it to yourself. But in terms of the day-to-day work, be a servant leader. Be with the team and always get them involved. Everyone on board. And finally, prioritize. Because at any time, there will be something. So many things that you have to do. You have to prioritize. How do you prioritize? You already know your business case. You already know your business management plan. If these are not done in your project, please, then you have a problem because these things would have been done just after the feasibility studies were done before you create your project charter. So know these things, know the value of the project. And anytime when you are prioritize, ask yourself questions. What I'm going to do? What I'm going to do? Would it give me the value of what this project is about? Then based on that, you can prioritize and do solve the most important problems well. On this note, I will say that, yes, we have so many, I've discussed so many ways that you can handle your project, but finally, try to recover a project or salvage project. Now, finally, I want to say that there's this research that was done by PM Solution 2011, and it is said that most of the project managers, I mean, in terms of how projects are salvaged or recovered, they try to improve communication and stakeholder management, about 62%. So it means that if you really want to be successful, according to this research, about 62% thinks that you always have to improve on how you communicate. And by communicating, if you are a good servant leader, you'll be very perfect here. And also how you manage your stakeholders. About 60% always look at redefining the scope and timelines. They don't pay so much attention to the other aspects. Then also 58%, they add or remove resources. You remember we talk about options that you can use. Then also solving problematic problems, technical issues, they focus about 49%. And finally, assigning the recovery project manager, i.e., we are saying that about 36% of organizations, when these situations happen, they assign new project managers to take in charge, to come and salvage the project or recover the project. Guys, at this point, I come to the end of the presentation. Thank you all for staying on to this time. Let the questions flow, let the comments flow. Let's discuss and let's see how we can move this knowledge forward in our small corners as we execute our projects. Thank you very much, Charles. Now,
yeah, amazing. Thank you, Kwafo. This is very insightful. I see the hands going up already. Let me do a quick recap of what Mr. Kwafo has said. He has said three key things. First, he has shown us how to manage challenging projects. It's either you abandon it or you salvage it. And then in abandoning it, he has shown us how to do it professionally. And then in salvaging it, he's shown us how to do it professionally. And in fact, before you make any of these decisions, he's also taught us or shared thoughts with us how we can arrive at these decisions. And this is amazing because projects that we manage, projects that we are involved in, you would encounter problems one way or the other. And you would need these facts, you would need these insights to be able to make your project very effective and then to get your deliverables delivered to your client. Yes, Captain Matthew, let me get your question or contribution. Yes, so I see a lot of comments about the asking of the slides. Yes, Matthew, 1 minute, Captain. So we would make the slides available just like we did for the last presentation. So we'll put it in our Telegram page so that you can download from there. And then we'll also make the recording available to you. Captain Matthew.
Okay, sir. Before then, I'm not on the Telegram page, so kindly add me up. And
we'll send you a link to join it. Yes, you can also search for Step Up Business School on Telegram, and you will see and join. Yes, please.
Okay. Now let's come to my question.
Yes, sir.
Please, does it necessarily mean if you are not a graduate from the university, you can't take this course? Or maybe if you are, let's say you are a Mason, is it possible you can take this course?
So yes, so Captain Matthew, I assume you're talking about the certification, the PMP certification, and yes, you would need some minimum educational background qualification. Talking about it, so please, you would have to speak with Judith or Esther, and then I'm sure they'll sort you out. But you need minimum a diploma. But whatever it is, talk to us, and I'm sure we can sort you out.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Captain. Richard Danso, your hand is up.
Yeah, hello?
Yes, sir.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please, I can hear you.
Yeah, please, is Jenna still around or is gone?
I think he should be around.
I'm on the line. I'm on the line.
Jenna, I want to find out
I wasn't sure who you're calling General. I thought Captain, you're referring to Captain. I didn't know Kwafo was turning to General. Sorry, sir.
You'll be promoted very soon to Major General.
I know, right? I know. He's deep, yeah.
Yes, Jenna, I wanted to find out from you this our affordable house at what's the name, Segleme, or what is it? So how do we term this project now? Whether it can be salvage or it can be abandoned. I just want to know, since we all know the condition that we find it now.
Okay. Thank you for the question. As I said earlier, to be able to take a decision as to whether to salvage or abandon, we have to at least start from the vital signs, which has all the major indicators, and also do detailed analysis. This is what we have to do. However, listening to the politicians and all that, it's clear, and from the bits of information we've heard, it's clear that the project is so much viable and they want to continue. The last time I heard is something that they were trying to give to a contractor, but you know, there's so many, it is trying to give it to a company to manage it. If the project is not viable and it's not going to give any value, and it's also not going to take all the 9 boxes we checked when they want to take the decision, then I'm sure they wouldn't, any investor wouldn't want to take it. So once the investor is ready, then it means that, yeah, and that's agreement. The place is so huge and it's so good. Things that the buildings are intact. So definitely they have to salvage it. It's just that sometimes politics delays some of these decisions. That is why I hope I've managed to answer your question.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Richard. Thank you. Thank you, General Kwafo. So Kwame, I see your hand up.
Oh, okay. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
I want to know from Mr. Kwafo the acceptable tolerance levels. Does it differ from industry to industry, or it can be set a straight jacket? I want to believe my question is clear.
Yes, it is, and it's very
yes. In fact, it is based on industry standard, and also most importantly, your company. You see, companies have different tolerances. Some are risk prone, some are risk averse. Okay, so depending on their level of risk and what have you, they may have high tolerance or small tolerance. And also in the area of industry that you have. For example, if you look at an area like aviation, the tolerance levels for most of what they do, it's very, very small. Because the moment you messed up, there will be a serious problem. Compare it to maybe telecommunication. The tolerance level will be high. But as I said, apart from the industry, the organization, their tolerance, risk prone, risk averse, depending on how they see risk, that will determine it. That is why it is always good to contact your PMO if you want to know this risk tolerance. all the organizations. And if you don't, your organization don't have, then your peer, you don't have PMO to, you can fall, you can do benchmarking and fall on other organizations that are doing the same type of work that you are going to do and use their tolerance as a benchmark. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Kwame, are you okay? All right, so I see Isaac, and then Blandin. So let me call Isaac first. So Isaac.
Thank you very much.
Isaac, please unmute. Yes, sir.
Okay, so my name is Isaac Mensah, a recent PMP certified. I had my
congratulations, sir.
Yes, I had my tuition with Step Up Business School, and they are really very, very good. I recommend them to anyone who would want to take the PMP exam. But back to my question, Mr. Kwafo. I have read reports where projects that are challenged have gone through hands. So from one project, from one PM to the other, so you have about 5 projects managers handling the same projects. If you are appointed as a PM to handle such a project, is it advisable to look for different team members, or you would want to continue with the team that you came to meet? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, but General, before you answer, let me say thank you to Isaac, and congratulations to you, Isaac Mensah, and thanks for the recommendation. We really appreciate it, and congratulations. I wish you all the best in your new certification level. Yes, General.
Yes, so it's a dicey question, but first of all, as a project manager, I'm just going to answer this question based on professionalism, not because of no-go-few. You know, when you follow no-go-few, it means that you may just accept the project and do what the people want. But as a professional, first of all, you have to assess. Before even you accept to handle the project, you have to do the assessment. Because so many project managers have failed and they have been fired. So you have to do the root cause analysis to find out what is the state of the project. Why are all these project managers failing? You come out with the root cause of all this. This is different from trying to find out whether the project needs to be salvaged, or it needs to be abandoned, or a trouble project, or whatever. Assess the root causes of the problems why these project managers have been disposed of. Now, 2, as a project manager, as you know, you just pass your PMP. Your first line of action when there's a problem is to assess, is to review. Okay, so you look at all this. So in assessing, you look at the staff. Do you think they have the skills? Definitely they would have sent their CVs and what have you before they were taken. If you look at it and you think that the skill set is not good, definitely you have to tell the sponsor, I don't think we can survive with this work, with these workers. You have to make changes. And that is why I said you have to meet the sponsor and be brutally frank about what you need to do. So in a nutshell, do your assessment. Look at the opportunities, look at the disadvantages and all that, and come out. If you have the right resources for your analysis, you can use them. If not, but don't just take them upon because you are happy, you are the new project manager, so let's come, baby, you will be the next to fail. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Let me call Blandin, and then I'm sure we'll be wrapping up. iPhone Lamin Boss, you said you have a question to ask. So let me take from Blandin first, and then I'll come to you.
Okay. Thanks very much, everyone. Unfortunately, I was not able to follow through I was not good because I was having a network issue. I have to continue with my phone. I left my computer. Now, at the beginning, Mr. Kwafo mentioned 3 main projects, out of which one is of high interest to me, which is our National Cathedral.
I know, right? I knew this one would come up.
Yeah, wait, I'm keenly following the development of that project.
Okay.
For personal interest and national interest as well. Last time I heard the executive director, Dr. Emmanuel something, say that they are now looking for $100 million to import steel, which was not at all in the book at the beginning, even when they were writing probably these projects. What could have been the cost? Could that be due to the level of unprofessionalism of the people handling the projects? Or Mr. Kwafo, what could be the cost? If today we accept the $100 million, tomorrow are we going to be asked to look for another 50 million or 70 million? Why is it that at the assessment level, at the beginning, when they were thinking these projects, the managers could not have foreseen all these things in advance? Is it just politicization or unprofessionalism? I want to know.
Okay. So I don't want us to go to the politics aspect.
Me too, please.
Professionally, before you start any projects, you would have done your assessments and come out with your budget, right? And know where you are going to get all your money from, who is sponsoring. Then when it comes to the funding limit, when you will get these informations and all that. And from all that is happening, it is so clear that the budget aspect, who is going to provide the money at what time, were not done. Because if those things were done, definitely you will know where the monies will be coming from and at what time. So if just at the beginning, we are now going to do fundraising to get the money of this money, and even that money is just to do a small aspect of it, then from my point of view, I think we didn't really follow the project management practices. Are you getting me? Which will boil down to the professionalism of our work. And you can see that yes, there may be project managers there, but this is more of a political project. So I'm not sure the project managers may have a say in terms of the way projects should be run to make it successful. So for me, it's purely not run from the professional point of view, because if it was run that way, we wouldn't have this problem. It's purely that. I hope
okay.
I answered the question.
Yeah, perfect. That's exactly what I was expecting as an answer.
Okay.
Because I've been thinking throughout, but thank you very much for it. I hope to go through the recording, and if I have any question, I can send that through Judith.
No problem. You can contact me anytime. Just
thank you.
All right.
I will be taking the course.
I thought you're already in the class.
No, I am on a very big project now. That's really why I'm interested in this. We are setting up a tomato processing factory in Volta. I work with farmers.
Okay.
We have I have almost 17,000 farmers in Ghana, and we have 2 main factories to set up in Volta region and the Upper East. So I need this.
Okay. Yeah, sure. And you said you are very busy now. That is why I couldn't join the other class. But you know, per my experience with handling professionals like you, there is no way you are going to be free anytime soon. I mean, projects will be coming up, and so I think the time to do it is now. And all of us listening, if you need to certify, you don't need to postpone again. The time to do that is now. And you see that once you jump in, you will finish it. Yes, let me call Stephen. I'll come to Swale Mubarak. Yeah, you're welcome, Blandin. I'll come to Swale Mubarak after Stephen.
Hello, Charles. Good evening, and good evening to
Stephen.
Senior Kwafo. My question is this, we are talking about challenging projects and how to salvage them. My question is, how different is a challenging project from a failing project? Because we can have a project which is challenging from the very beginning, and then you may have to adopt certain approaches. Maybe I may have missed out on a few slides. So is there a difference between a failing project and a challenging project? And then, yes, I think that will be the first question.
Great. So, I think, yes,
my colleague, thank you for the question. I think maybe you might have missed the earlier presentation. So when I started, so if you look at this current slide, I made it clear that there were a difference. You know, failed projects are unrecoverable. You've lost so much money that whatever money you add to the project will not make any sense, and you will not get the value. It cannot be salvaged. Whatever you do, looking at all the dynamics we've talked about, then at that stage it's a failed project and you can't do anything about it. However, challenge projects are projects that is possible. Looking at the vital signs, which we discussed, you can see that if the tolerance levels are within very small ranges, they are not huge. It means that we can easily salvage these projects, and straight away we have to go and salvage it. So I believe this answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
yeah. So Kwafo, you have a lot of titles today. I'm hearing Senior Kwafo, I'm hearing Senior Kwafo, I'm hearing
that's the
I'm hearing General, I'm hearing a lot of titles for you. It communicates how in-depth you are in the field of project management. So let me come to Swale Mubarak.
Yes, thank you very much. That's a very brilliant presentation. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yes. Please, I just want to know, should we expect any signal that should tell you this the project that you are on is likely to face a challenge? Is there any warning sign that one should take note?
So
yes,
I believe you may
that's
have
the first question.
also come a little early. So you want to ask the second one before I answer, or?
Oh, no, the second part is in the modern trend. I'm saying that as a project manager, should you be worried in the face of this AI evolution? And if yes or no, how can you take advantage of the evolution, the current evolution that you are in?
The current revolution, i.e. in terms of
evolution of AI vis-a-vis as a project manager.
Okay, AI.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. From the first point, I'm not too sure whether you connected earlier.
No, not please.
Yes, if you look at the slides,
yes,
we discussed warning signs of a challenge project. Okay, that as a project manager, these are the areas like stakeholders. You are not, everybody is complaining. You are not involving people in executing the projects, right? People don't want to help you to do the work. The stakeholders, you have a problem. There's lack of funds. The team members that are on, they don't have the right experience, and there's a knowledge to do the work. Anytime they do the work, there are problems. You always have to do rework and all that. There's so much risk. At any time, problems happens, you realize risk has not been identified well. Even if it's identified, it's not being monitored, and the plan not being executed. Okay, and the most popular ones, you are spending so much money than what you are supposed to spend at any time when you try to compare the money you have spent against the baseline, and also comparing it to the fund limit that you are supposed to be getting. Anytime you are spending, you are in arrears. comparing it to your fund limits. And your schedule is always below, I mean, you are always late. The project is always delaying. These are the signs that as a project manager, when you start seeing them, you should start thinking of, is my project beginning to get into the challenge states? Then before you move to the next steps that we discuss, which I don't know whether you are here, then you ask yourself, is the project really challenged? You go through what we discuss here. Then also you use the vital signs to benchmark and see whether really. So when you use this, it will give you a clear picture as to whether your project is challenged or not. Then you can move on to the next steps. I don't want to repeat them because
okay. And the recording will be available. So if you missed anything, you would be able to get it. So let me pick. Stephen, is your hand still up? Swale, are you okay? Let me come to Moses.
Yeah, very okay, very okay. Thank you very much.
Great. Okay, sure. Let me come to Moses.
Okay. So good evening, Mr. Kwafo.
Good evening. Good evening. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So I just want to share personal experience on what my brother Swale just asked about.
Great.
On
great.
identifying signs that a project is likely to fail. In fact, sometimes if you don't, I'm like in the point there, as the Kwafo projected, you could see stakeholder there, and the managers, the executives, the sponsors can actually mess you up if you don't take time. So here is the case: those top levels are having conflicts within themselves. In fact, they are indecisive. And this is the case that if they don't come out with a concrete decision, I may not also be able to move forward. While I am ticking my clocks, they are not making any headway. So what do I do at that point, seeing that signals? Because once I allow them to get to a certain level, it means that automatically it will affect my schedules and my time. So I have to then come in and play a leadership role then, to be able to create a common ground for them, both for all the stakeholders to come to a common ground so that I can get my chance to move. And so as the project manager, I believe that if you are proactive enough and pay a lot of attention to whatever you are doing, especially the stakeholders, and communicating quite properly, sometimes some of the things will show up to you quite earlier and you wait for it to get there.
This is a brilliant.
All right. Very, very, very.
So I think it's something that we need to
yeah.
Perfect.
Very. Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you very much, sir. Because it's a mastermind, we are expecting more of such so that we would all learn from each other. So let me come to Jerry John Day. Jerry, please unmute and ask your question. Hi, Jerry, if you can hear me, kindly unmute. Yes.
Yeah, hi. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the in-depth knowledge you have imparted to us. I'm a estate developer.
Okay.
Yes, I have 20 acres at Chopoli. So if anyone needs, we can get in touch.
I'll send you an invoice for this advert.
Oh, sure. Sure, you get your commission. Yeah, back to my question. As a project manager, you have encountered a difficult, rebellious team member, okay, in your team, and you realize that the person is very good, and you cannot do without the person, but the person is very difficult. As a project manager, what are you supposed to do? Should you get rid of the person, or you have to talk to the person and maintain him or her? Thank you very much.
All right, great.
Okay. From PMI point of view, let me answer the question from PMI point of view. PMI normally do not subscribe to just sacking people. Before you sack people on a project, you might have done a proper analysis to find out that what these people or the person has done is against the rules, is unethical, against the culture norms, against the team agreements, team charter, and all that. And you've tried as much as possible to put the person in order by going through informal and formal process. So if all these things have not been done, do not consider sacking. That is one. Two, people, yes, we have some people, they are very good. As you said, if they are not in the project, it will be very good. The success may be a problem. However, they have a very peculiar problem. Now, such people, that's why normally we study motivational theories and all that. So PMI has some key motivation theories. You look at them and you find out, from their point of view, what really tickles them in terms of motivates them to behave well. If you are able to identify things that motivates them to behave well and get things done, then you use this as an advantage. You find this motivating point to get him to do the work. Alternatively, as you two, as a project manager, you have to consider emotional intelligence. Now, as much as you look at yourself, you review yourself, maybe sometimes the way you approach these worker, team member, also triggers the way he responds. Of course, we can have people who are just naughty, even if you are nice. But in most times, you may see that there may be one or two ways of the way you behave that makes them, rebel or misbehave. So it's always good to do this emotional intelligence analysis privately. Look at how you relate to them. Look at in terms of your relationship with them. Are you showing so much empathy and motivation, which I just discussed how you should go about it. So it should be a two-way. Look at yourself, what you can do, how you can change. Sometimes you need to come a little lower in terms of the way you handle him in a very nice way, okay, professionally, of course. Then you see that he will always, there are some people who always want to feel like they are bosses in the team. Such people, they are motivated by their achievements. You're a team leader, is this. So you see that such a person, always when there are most of their jobs to be done, about 80 or 70% of the time, you try to let them lead. Hey, you take it in charge, make sure this is done. It's a silent way of motivating them and getting them to do the job. I don't know whether I've made some sense in answering your question. Thank you.
Certainly you have, sir. Let me come. Jerry John, I'm sure you answered. So let me come to engineer.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Engineer Emil Boni. I hope I mentioned the name right.
It's Engineer Emil Boone.
It's Bone, actually. Yes, okay, I wanted to avoid that. I wasn't sure. All right, thank you,
good
sir.
Good evening to us.
Good evening.
And thank you so much, General. Let me also call him General for this presentation. I have this peculiar situation. I'm an engineer by profession, but currently a facility manager or maintenance manager. So what happens here, which I like some ideas on, is that we have multiple projects that is listed out, say, for the year. So I'm in this situation whereby you have an accounts team that runs on a tight budget in terms of they fund various projects for various departments. And also you have bosses who are demanding, they want results. So it's very frustrating in the sense that you end up getting all the designs, all the cost estimates, all the timelines, you push it to them, and then accounts has a different schedule. Then the bosses too want a different schedule. So in those situations, how do you go about it? Because it's frustrating in the sense that you go through the design process, the estimation process, even getting the vendors and everything. But then because funding is not available or released, the project delays or the project doesn't even commence. But then they are expecting results. So going back to the vendors is a back and forth thing. Oh, revise your codes, then this, then funding is now shifted to different things. I hope my frustration is is understood. So in those situations, what do you do? As let's say in what I'm doing, I'm more or less like a project manager for all those various projects. So in those situations, what do you do? How do you juggle it? Because it's quite frustrating, since each project is also very critical to the development of the company.
Boss,
Thank you.
if it's funds, the problem is mainly about funds. Sometimes there's not much you can do because it's very difficult for you. You are not in a projectized organization where you call the shots, funds are there and all that. But aside that, you can't say you won't do the project. So you just have to juggle through. What can you do? You can look, you see, I believe this is all have to do with resources. You can try to look after projects that, projects that you can employ fast tracking. I hope you know fast tracking, the project that you can use crashing, okay, and other techniques that we use in project management when it comes to schedule. I don't think it's the right time for me to go through all those techniques, but you can pick my number and we can discuss into the details how to go by this way of trying to navigate your way through. Because, for example, fast tracking basically is looking at work that you can do in parallel and make sure the project is going and can hit the target, but also knows that the money should be there. If the money is not there, you can use fast track. Crashing, getting more resources, and getting more resources, they also have to provide, isn't it? You know, and sometimes you can use other ways of managing your resource in such a way that, you see, sometimes there's one thing we do. We have so much resources on the project that some become waste. You can look at your resource and manage it in such a way that on weekly basis, on daily basis, you have a certain maximum level of resources that are available on certain type of job. And through that, it can let you optimize the resources that you have. I hope I've made some
Kwafo, if you don't mind, I would like to add something small to
okay, Stephen.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so listening to engineer, it seems to me that there are a lot of organizational issues, I'll call EEFs, that needs to be addressed. Like you rightly mentioned, most of them are conditions that are not under his control. Now, the first question will be, are all these projects under a program, or he is managing them as a unique components or as separate project components? Now, the first thing is to get those organizational top hierarchies to prioritize the project based on resource availability or capacity to deliver. If that is not done and everything has to be planned and then juggled together within a limited resource without any proper prioritization, then they are putting a lot of pressure on him. They are killing him. So they have to find a way of sitting or sit around the table to determine which projects can be done based on the limitations or the constraints that they have as an organization. Then one after the other, they will be able to execute these projects to obtain the benefits that is inherent in such project without necessarily having to waste all the time to plan all the projects and then do all the whatever scheduling and everything, and then the project never gets started, or it gets started and then resources are not forthcoming and then you have to stop. When you spread resources thinly this manner, you don't get value. All right, so first of all, if there is no PMO, you want to set up a PMO to centralize the management of the project. All the organizations, departments within the organizations are stakeholders to projects that you manage. You need to find a way of bringing them together, okay, or bringing them to the table for them to know each step of the way, the progress, the planning, the discussions, anything relating to the project. So then you can solicit their views and inputs. It is there that issues like funding related issues or any risk that will limit your capabilities or your ability to deliver will come to the fore. Then you can discuss that holistically. So first, get the top hierarchies to help in prioritizing the project. So you will plan into detail projects based on resource availability, and then get everybody who is connected to the project or who play a role on the project to the table to be part of the discussion from the very word go. So you don't have to be running around and then having to plan and wasted effort. People hurry up and wait. You always be wasting efforts in that. I don't think that is the best way to go. So my advice is get those who matter to do the prioritization and get all the stakeholders to the table before you finalize on any plan so that there are no disappointments.
Great.
Okay, thank you very much. That's very insightful. But I have a follow-up listen on that. I tried that strategy probably in a different way. So they ended up coming with the, should I say, funding period, estimated funding period. But what happens is that you realize during those periods, they don't follow the schedule. Things just, let's say, are not according to plan. So you always have to go back and forth on making your case, going back and forth on changing your program and so on and so forth. But then I believe I'll contact General and some of you individually and then see how best you can help me with this situation, because it's not clear cut. You follow one strategy, they will do their own thing and then follow suit, and you are left hanging to chase or run around trying to get everybody aligned. And by the time you realize an emergency comes up, they divert resources into different projects, and then those projects are pending. And when something comes up again, they come at you that why is this project still pending? And it's a whole lot. But
one other thing you can do is make sure you form a project management team that involves those difficult people, the finance people who are always diverting funds. Put the head of finance or someone in that department who has power or authority on your project. So then if there is a failure, he takes part of the blame. And if that works and he's part of the project, I'm sure that issue will be resolved. I've done that before and it worked. But getting them to be part of the project team sometimes can be difficult, because if they know what they're doing, or they think that the issues in their department is also above their control or beyond their control, they may not want to join. But try that and see if it works. Let them be part of the team, and then they will also work to fulfill their part of the responsibility. All right, thanks.
Great,
okay,
great.
Probably later we could exchange contacts so that we could share
yes, very much so.
ideas.
Very much so. Well,
Thanks so much.
Engineer Bone, have you taken the course already, the PMP training? Just
Not
asking.
yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
Okay.
But I'm planning to.
Okay. I'm sure if you go through it, all these will be sorted in the class. I'm sure you get fresh knowledge and clear perspective on how to handle some of these critical issues. And I'm sure this is not the only issue that you may have on your projects. So I would recommend that if you can consider doing the course, it would help. All right, but we'll share their contacts with you, and then you can have conversations with them. All right.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I want to. Okay, so some are asking that we send the recording to you via WhatsApp. Please kindly note that we would share the link for this recording, or the link to this recording in our Telegram group. So we've shared it on this link, the chat room. So you can get a link on the chat room, and then you can also get the link. Judith, I see Judith sharing it in a lot of the groups. So if you belong to any of the groups that we have with you, you can just go in there, and by tomorrow morning you should see the recording in the group. Thank you very much. Okay, so Engineer Bone's hand is still up. I'm sure he's fine. All right. So let me come to Sir Kwafo, General Kwafo, Senior Kwafo, for his final remarks. We should be out here. We should be out from here in the next 1 to 2 minutes.
Okay, right. Thank you all for this opportunity. I'm really happy that after the session, my presentation, there have been very good questions. There have been contributions, and I think that is the way forward. We believe that next time we can also impact more knowledge in our next sessions. Thank you all, and bless you all.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Sir Kwafo. Thank you, Stephen, for the amazing contribution, and all that asked questions and made contributions, and then to you too that participated in this mastermind. We are committed to building a platform where we can get quality information to help us manage our projects very well and effectively. God willing, you will hear from us on our next project. Have a good evening, and stay safe. Goodbye.
Thank you very much. God bless you.
Amen. God bless you too.